What's up everybody, it's your boy Magnus.Magneto from Now Never Crew, and in this video I want to go over the top 10 ways I use breaking to help me with my mental health and how I leverage it to fight depression and anxiety and all those fun things that we all deal with, isn't it? Now, quick disclaimer, this is not to say that if you or someone you know is struggling with mental health or depression that you shouldn't go to therapy and that breaking is enough. I've gone to therapy, I've struggled with mental health my whole life. Now, if you need that, go get it. This video is not taking the place of a therapist, and in my opinion, breaking should not take the place of a therapist either. This is simply, again, the way I use it, but if you or someone you know is struggling with mental health, please go get professional support. Let's go. Number one, if you're like me and you don't fully love your body in every regard, and we all have our days where you're either feeling too skinny, maybe too overweight, maybe you just don't love the way you specifically look. Now, this is something I've had my whole life. I wouldn't say I have like body dysmorphia, but I definitely have had struggles with how I look my whole life. I have a super high metabolism and it's hard for me to gain weight. And especially with anxiety and depression, that doesn't make it easier. So, one thing that's really helped me is I haven't really fallen in love with a lot of working out with weights or any of these things that are not super functional. Calisthenics is great, but with breaking, the one thing that I've been able to always go back to is that if you're doing free stacks and more of the athletic side of breaking, then you can double that as a workout. So I've used that, especially with like free stacks and calisthenic body weight workouts within breaking, to really benefit my mental health when I've been really struggling with how I look personally. I've used that to I've leveraged that to make myself feel better in the moment. Number two, the second way that I've used it is I made it my career. So I loved it and I made it my support system. So financial support and struggling with money can be a huge cause of anxiety and stress and depression, and it's definitely been on me as I've definitely struggled with that a lot. And having breaking as my job and my financial backing has really given me the support system financially to be able to really get past that part of myself. So long story short, obviously financial security really helps our mental health. Number three, for my chronic overthinkers like me, overthinking is something I've done my whole life. And it's it usually goes very hand in hand with anxiety and all these mental health things is overthinking. And I've definitely found some of the hardest times for me has actually been when I haven't been teaching. And when I've been like on spring break or on summer break or any of these kind of holidays, I really struggled because on a long day where I may be struggling with overthinking something, if I can go to teach, it really grounds me and gets me out of my head so that I can actually start to think more clearly. Because when you're in the moment and you have to be in a position of authority and leadership, it really pulls you out of that overthinking complex and into a more grounded place. Number four, one of the things I literally used up until yesterday, this is like so constant for me, and that's providing yourself with consistent small wins. One of the great things with breaking is there's always so much more you can achieve with it, and there's always so many things you're just on the cusp of achieving. So one thing is when you're feeling a little bit anxious or not necessarily grounded, disconnected, any of these things, I've found that being able to provide myself with a little small victory, or as I say, a small win, has been really beneficial for my mental health to really get me back into a grounded mindset and a more happy mindset, is being able to provide myself with these small wins. How do I do this? Well, I have like a list of goals and movement goals that I want to achieve, and if I can tack one off on a day that I'm maybe not feeling like my best self, that can be the little snowball you need to be pushed down that mountain into getting you into a really progressive day and a productive day. So having those little small wins we can get, especially with breaking, it's really great. Number five, and this is where I quote my crewmate Muggy Mug again with saying, you can leave breaking as many times as you want, but breaking will never leave you. And this has always rung so true to me, because whenever I've been in the like worst parts of my life and I've really struggled the most, being able to just process the emotion that I don't understand how to process fully in my body through breaking, and to have an outlet to really process and release that emotion in a productive way has been so beneficial for me. Obviously, you don't necessarily want to rely on that because hopefully you're not in a place of that much destruction all the time, but whenever you're really struggling with processing any emotion, we're always going to have those moments where we have this emotion inside that we don't necessarily understand how to process, and being able to like go in the rain on concrete and just throw down and with like headphones in, middle of the night, whenever, just like going at it and just breaking literally your headphones and everything around you, but like on the ground, it's the best, you know, like it really is a raw art form, and it really provides us a raw atmosphere to where we can really process and release emotion that we maybe don't know how to work through yet. And maybe if we can go and just throw it all on the ground and get it out of our system for a moment, then it will allow those emotions to settle enough for us to really process it fully afterwards. Number 6, so a lot of people get anxiety from not feeling like they're in control of things, and having control can provide us with a lot of security and safety. So I've definitely found for me, the unknown and not being in control of things really provide me a lot of anxiety. So what I've done is I've created a life where I have a lot of control in it, right? I control my curriculums, I control my classrooms, I control the content I put out, when I put it out. All these things I'm really in the driver's seat and in the position of authority and control, to where I'm not like leaving a lot up to just, well, we'll see. Hopefully someone calls me, or hopefully I'll get work or whatever. I've really curated a place to where I have a lot of control in it. Yes, I work for people that, and I have bosses still that technically they control if I work there or not, but like everything else around that I'm in control of. And that's really provided me with a lot of this security and feeling confident with myself and happy and not so anxious every day, because I'm not walking into all these unknown situations, because I've curated a certain amount of control around it. So anyone that struggles with anxiety will probably realize that they feel a lot in their stomach a lot of the time. And that's because our stomach's like one of our biggest nerves, right? So whenever we're feeling anxious, we feel a lot of it in the pits of our stomach. So this can really affect our eating, whether it becomes overeating or whether it becomes undereating. For me, it was always undereating. So that's why I struggle with a lot with breaking anxiety is it's really hard if I'm feeling anxious all the time or depressed or these things to actually motivate myself to eat food, because I'm not motivated at all to eat food. The food's the last thing I want to do because my stomach's so constricted within itself, right? That's when we breathe it out. So one of the things I've really leaned on, and this goes for movement in general, right? I just kind of categorize it within breaking because I'm a B-boy. But being able to break to motivate eating versus being able to eat to motivate my breaking has helped a lot. So rather than being like, oh, it's morning, I can't eat breakfast, I'm too anxious, whatever, do some movement first, some stretching, some working out, some training, whatever, and really train until your system is grounded and calm enough to be able to actually stomach food. So that's something I do a lot. I really like doing some kind of movement in the morning before I can eat, because then I'm actually, it's not just like earning your meal, but for me it's actually calming my system down and getting my system into a place where it's actually feeling hungry versus trying to force myself to eat. Because when I'm forcing myself to eat when I'm not feeling hungry, it's really hard to. But if you do enough movement to where you're really feeling that fire inside of hunger and starvation, quote unquote, then it helps me personally to really be able to eat. And the same thing, if you're always eating because of you're anxious, then if you break to really calm your system down, then you actually know when you're hungry versus just eating out of an anxious response. Number 8. So we all have those moments of feeling disconnected, right? We're not feeling like us. We're not feeling like our true selves or our highest vibe selves. And we're trying to tap into that like clear-headed, clarity-filled, high vibe version of ourselves, and it's just not happening. One of the ways I've found that I leverage breaking to get myself there is, again, through teaching. Because as soon as I start giving that information to other people and I start getting into that clear headspace for someone else, I naturally get into it for myself. And I start kind of like talking to you right, like I am right now, and I like get kind of shivers up my spine, and I'm like thinking in my head, I'm like, oh, I'm here now. This is where I wanted to get to, but I couldn't get here when I was trying to force myself into here. But when I was doing what provided that high vibe material and that high vibe version of myself, I got there. So it's kind of like that reverse thinking, right? Where you're like, oh, I really want this. So you give it out and then you receive it. And it's a very basic mythology where give what you want to receive, but it really lands true for me, especially with teaching. And when I want to provide myself with that high vibe energy, is put myself in a position where I have to provide that high vibe energy for someone else, for a student, for this, because it's easier for me to provide that for someone else than for myself, right? As it usually is. And by providing that for someone else, it puts me in that in return. Yes. So another common thing that we all struggle with is being very reactive, right? We're anxious, maybe we're triggered, whatever, and someone says something to us and we instantly get reactive. We have our shields up, we get defensive. We're like, hey, how dare you? And we want to attack back, right? We're in defense mode. And another great way I've really learned to check this is, again, through teaching. Being able to provide people with a space where they're allowed to be themselves without worrying about triggering me, without worrying about me being impatient or frustrated with them, is really huge. And if I don't provide that space, they may not feel comfortable. I may be unintentionally triggering them. I'm not providing them then with a good learning environment because I'm on edge. I'm allowing my frustrations, my reactivity, my triggers, whatever, to come into the classroom, which is not okay. As a teacher, I need to provide a space that's safe for them and to provide a space where they can clearly and confidently learn, or else I'm not doing my job, right? So through teaching, I've really learned how to do that, because the clearer and cleaner I am mentally and emotionally going into teaching, the clearer and cleaner the classroom can be. And I've definitely had moments of wanting to feel reactive. I've had moments of feeling a little triggered while teaching students. I've had moments of impatience and frustration, but you really learn how to breathe that out and disconnect yourself from it and realize that you're in a teaching environment, you're in a leadership role. And for you to succeed in that moment, regardless of what that person's projecting at you, you need to be a clean, clear space for them to land, because that's your job as being a teacher and being in front of them. And if you want to help them to get to their high vibe place where they're not feeling frustrated, they're not feeling triggered, they're not feeling reactive, you also need to provide that same safety and clarity. And through doing that again for others in the classroom, I've been able to provide that for myself so that I'm less reactive, I'm less impatient, I'm less frustrated, and all these things in my day-to-day life. And that falls into number 10. I kind of talked about patience before, but also really that grind mentality. Because it's one thing to feel patient with like 5 minutes, right? And there's another thing to like grind one move again and again and again and again and one more time and a few more. And we're waiting, and this video is forever now because we've been grinding so long. But breaking has really, really provided that for me with everything that I try in my life, where I don't come at it being like, cool, I'm gonna get this in 1 second and then give up or whatever. Like, I really have this grind, do or die mentality because breaking taught me that. And every time I do breaking, it humbles me as just how hard it is and just how much grind is required in doing one thing to get to another level. And when you take that out of your breaking and you bring that to something else that you may be trying, something new or whatever, you see how fast you progress versus others, because you're like, oh, they just gave up. Well, I mean, I didn't give up because I'm here right now, right? And if I can do this move and this freeze and this power move and this thing and this step, and if I achieve that, then like I can achieve this little thing here in this category and that category or over here. And breaking's like provide that for me so well. And I've found really I'm able to attack new things the same way that I attack breaking. And it's one of the biggest things that really helps me explore other passions is because I'm not going into this with all this anxiety and pressure and shame and fear of failure, because with breaking, like I did that all already, right? And I've gone through that all already. So when I take that somewhere else, I'm not running the same anxieties and depression and struggles that I was, because as I said, like I already worked through a lot of that with breaking, and I've proven that to myself. And as human beings, we need to prove to ourselves that we're capable. And the best way to prove to yourself is through doing something. And breaking is the best definition of doing something. And to do it well, you have to grind. And I've found that's been so beneficial for my mental health. Anyways, this is just 10 things. I could keep going. The list goes on forever, but I was just thinking that this would be kind of an interesting video to share, and it might help out someone that's maybe struggling a little bit with their mental health and depression and anxiety. Again, I definitely recommend getting professional support. I've got a lot of professional support. I've gone for a lot of professional support, but this is the way that I found breaking's really benefited me and how I leverage it to help me with my own things, and hopefully it can maybe help you a little bit too and provide you maybe with a little bit of clarity and support in your own life. If you feel open, you want to share, feel free to comment down below, message me privately if you want. If you're not comfortable, that's all cool. Much love. Hope this helped you out, guys. Take care of yourself. Take care of your mental health. Be safe in this crazy world that we're in right now. Much love. Appreciate you all spending your time and investing a little bit of energy into Be a Boy. Peace out. Till next time. I don't know why I'm touching my nose, but now we're touching noses.
Love is love. Love is love.